Hello, welcome back to my channel. Welcome back to Alexa. I'm so happy you're here. In today's video, I'm going to show you how to make Simplicity S3230 pattern. It's a tent dress and I am making both views A and views B. I'll be making both views, view A and view B, but I'll be showing you how to make view B, which is the longer dress. And at the end, I'll show you the results of view A and the pattern adjustments I made for that. Okay, so for view B, I got 4 yards of cotton sateen fabric. This is my first time working with cotton sateen. I'm so excited to see how she sews. But I got that in a purple color, and I also will be making a rust color out of that, which is 100% cotton as well. And then for view A, the shorter iteration of the dress, I got 3 yards. For the pink dress, I got a cotton twill, and for the sage dress, I got cotton sateen as well. So I'm excited to work with all of these fabrics. I'm excited to work with cotton. I'm just excited. I think cotton, it's just natural, it's breathable, and you know, it's long lasting. Okay, so for this dress, I made mock-ups of this in both of the views. In view A, I made the mock-up out of a lightweight muslin because I wanted to see what the flow was. And in view B, the longer dress, I made out of the medium weight muslin. I prefer the medium weight muslin. I just think, I don't know, the lightweight is just a little bit too light for me. I don't feel like I'm wearing anything. But I prefer the medium weight muslin, which is why when I got my fabrics, I made sure it had a little bit of weight to it. It'll still drape, but for this pattern in particular, any medium weight or lightweight fabric will do. Fabrics that are suggested are charmeuse, cotton blends, gauze, linen, rayon, crepe de chine, crepe de chine, I don't know. So for this dress, for the short view, you'll need about, if you have 60-inch wide fabric, you'll need about 2.5 to 3 yards. And then for view B, the longer dress, you'll need 4 yards of fabric. You'll also need an invisible zipper, which is 22 inches. So I adjusted this pattern because I needed it to fit my hips. So my hips, according to this pattern, are a double XL, and my bust and waist are like a large. I think my waist actually is maybe like an extra large on this pattern. So the bust is a large, the waist is an extra large, and then the hip is a double XL. So my hip line is 14 inches below the waistline. In standard patterns, in standard commercial patterns, the waistline and the hip line are 9 inches apart. So mine are 14 inches apart. Here's the waistline on the pattern. Made a new hip line 14 inches down, and this is my new hip line. So I made a point here. So this is where I know I need to start trailing off in my adjustment for the double XL. So it starts as a large here, and then we make it all the way down to a double XL over here. So I adjusted it from a large, blending it through an extra large through the waist, and then a double XL at the new hip line that I created. Let me know if you want a video of me showing you how I blend my sizes. It's really important to make a mock so you can know what to expect when it's time to make the real thing, okay? And how I think of it is I'm just adding on to that 10,000 hours to perfect my craft. So I'm not wasting time, I'm not losing time. I am investing this time into my craft to get better. So think of it that way, if that helps. I already pre-washed my fabric. I am ready to just dive right into it. If you want to finish the raw edges, I would suggest a zigzag stitch, an overlocker. I will be using an overcasting foot to finish my raw edges on the seams as well as like on the pockets and stuff. But yeah, I'm really excited to get into this project, and yeah, I'm excited to show you what it is. All right, let's start off by cutting out our pieces. I'm just transferring my markings using a washable marker. I'm marking the right side of the fabric using a straight pin. Okay, so I cut out my pieces. I have one piece that is the front. It was cut on the fold. That's what this is. So here, so you can see the neckline. This one was cut on the fold. And then we have two back pieces that were cut separately. And then we have 4 pockets. So usually there's a pattern piece for the lining if there's a lining in a pocket, but it's just one pattern piece for the lining and for the main pocket. So cut out 4 of those. And then on the bias, I cut out 2 arm facings. And also on the bias, I cut out the neck edge in just one of those. All right, let's start off by grabbing the front piece. And with right sides together, pin the front to the back pieces at the shoulders. Take it to the machine. For this project, we are working with a 5/8 inch seam allowance. I'm using an overcast foot to finish the raw edges. This one came with my machine and it's foot G, and the stitch I'll be using with this foot is stitch 07. I overcasted the raw edges of the sides of the front and back pieces. Now let's work on the pockets. I'd suggest finishing the raw edges of the pockets before attaching them to the dress, but you can also do that once they are attached as well. With right sides together, pin the pocket to the right edge of the dress, matching the dots, and have the raw edges even. Sew in a 3/8 inch seam or 1 centimeter. press the seam toward the pocket. Understitch the front pocket. Understitching is a small step that makes a big difference. It keeps the lining or the facing rolled to the inside of the garment so it doesn't peek out. This gives your project a cleaner, more professional finish. Pin the front to the back at the side edges, matching the large dots. Sew the side seams, leaving an opening between the large dots. After sewing the side seams, then you want to sew the pocket edges together. I'm just going to backstitch here at that large dot and then lift my presser foot and then move the garment to the other large dot where I will continue the side seam stitching. Now let's sew the pocket raw edges. At the ends of the pocket, clip the garment back seam allowance. Here, I'm also trimming the pocket seam allowance. Then I finished the raw edges of the pocket with my overcast foot. Look at that, it's so pretty. Press the seam open above and below the clips. Then press the pockets toward the front. Before installing the zipper, I'm sewing a line using a basting stitch along the seam allowance. This gives me a visible guide so I know exactly where to align the zipper. Use an invisible zipper foot for the zipper. Open the zipper and pin the right side of the zipper face down on the right side of the zipper opening on the back piece of the fabric. Be sure that the zipper teeth are along the seam line and the tape is within the seam allowance. The slider of the zipper should be aligned with the notch on the center back of the back piece. Hand baste along the center of the tape. Before taking the zipper to the machine, remove the seam line guide along the zipper teeth, then use the invisible zipper foot to sew the zipper. I like to roll the teeth to get that needle as close as possible. Pin the other half of the zipper to the left side of the zipper opening. Before hand basting, close the zipper to make sure the top stops of the zipper are aligned. Then repeat the steps for the other side. Turn the dress inside out. Pin the remaining center back seam together below the zipper. Start sewing to the left of the end of the zipper and sew all the way down to the bottom edge. Press the seam open. Before moving on to the neck facing, I used my overcast foot to finish the shoulder seams, then press the seam to the back. Next, stay stitch the neck and armhole edges a 1/4 inch from the edge. Per the instructions for the neck edge, start the stay stitching from the center back edge to the center front. Repeat for the other center back edge. For the neck facing, press under 1 centimeter on the unnotched side of the facing. Trim the seam to a 1/4 inch. With right sides together, pin the neck facing to the neck edge, matching the centers, the notches, and placing the small dots at the shoulder seams. Sew in a 1 centimeter seam. Trim the seam and clip the curves. Then understitch the facing. Turn the facing inside and press. Baste close to the inner edge of the facing. I'm using a red thread for this. I've learned that using a different color thread for the basting in my projects helps me remember that those stitches are temporary. Next, top stitch the edge. Remove the basting stitch. With right sides together, sew the ends of the armhole facing. Like we did for the neck edge facing, press under 1 centimeter on the unnotched edge. With right sides together, pin the facing to the armhole edge, placing the small dot at the shoulder seam and matching the notches and seams. Sew, trim the seams, and clip the curves. Understitch the facing. The steps that we took for the neck facing, we want to repeat that for the armhole facings. Here I'm finishing the hem edge with an overcast foot. The pattern calls for a 1 1/4 inch for the hem, but I'm just going to do a 5/8 hem. And here I'm using my hot ruler to press up the edge 5/8 of an inch. Then I use a top stitch needle to sew the hem in place. And here's the big reveal. I absolutely love this project. I really enjoyed sewing with cotton sateen, and I love how comfortable this tent dress is. It's so versatile, and seriously, pockets on any dress is a win, okay? I think I found the perfect summer dress. I also made view B in this rusty orange. So freaking fabulous. I made a midi length by taking the extension piece off view B and adding 5 inches to the hem. Love, love, love this length. And last but not least, here's view A. This one, I added 4 inches to the hem for extra length. I'm so happy with how these dresses turned out. Let me know what you think in the comments. Which color do you like? Which view will you be making? Do you already have this pattern in your stash? Show some love. And as always, if you have any questions, drop them below. Thank you for taking the time to sew with me today. Until next time.